Hello, I am Deb Coviello, the drop-in CEO, and as always, I am grateful you took the time to drop in and listen to another amazing conversation where week after week, these leaders I bring onto the show share their insights with you and hopefully inspire you. And we do this work because I sincerely care about those C-suite leaders out there to help them navigate their challenges and opportunities with confidence based on these conversations that I'm having. And this week, I am thrilled to introduce to you Curtis McMullen, the CEO of the Curtis McCullom Group LLC and founder of Bespoke Human Potential Coaching, empowering CEOs, entrepreneurs, and high achievers to eliminate hidden mindset blocks and unlock their fullest potential, and through transformative coaching rooted in the LGET mindset, Curtis helps individuals become the best version of themselves, both personally and professionally. Curtis, I am so grateful you've dropped in on the show.
Thank you, Deb. Thank you for having me. It was a pleasure to host you on my show, and thank you for kind of giving me the opportunity to come and drop into your show and share with your audience some of the things that I love and I'm really really passionate about.
Yeah, and thank you again. And to my listeners, Curtis McCullum was such a gracious host. He asked such amazing questions about who I was as a person, deeply listening to what my gifts are and also my experiences and challenges. And what I really love about his work is that he does focus on the individual, the mindset, the behaviors, because that's really who we are. We are a human being. And yes, what we do in life is very transactional, but so much of who we are, what we do, and how we think is critical. And so I want to give you this gift to my audience, you, this time with Curtis to realize his thoughts. But first, I'm going to pass it back to you to share a bit about yourself personally and the work that you've done.
Yeah, I've been in this business about 40 years. Yeah, I know I look about 45, so it's about when I started when I
Woohoo!
was five. No, but I started about 40 years ago. I wanted to become a motivational speaker. It was around the era of when Tony Robbins had just started, Tom Hopkins, Dennis Waitley, Jim Rohn, all of those guys, all of those were my mentors when I was growing up. And so I started in sales. And when I started in sales, it was for purpose. The purpose was for me to share with individuals that if they applied the principles that I knew and how to do, that they too can be successful. And lo and behold, 1.5 years after I started in sales, I was the number one sales agent in the company. And I used all the principles. But just like most of your listeners, I had a blind spot that even I was number one in the company, I still felt like, oh my God, what is this all about? Why am I feeling like this? Am I good enough? Can I do it again? And I'm telling you, I went into what I call the wilderness of despair for years. It's the story I always kind of picture it. It's like, like when Moses was leading the children of Israel out of Egypt, they could have gotten to the promised land really quickly, but they went around and around and around because of their doubts, their fears, their limitations. And that's kind of the same thing that happened to me. So guess what, guys? About 40 years later, I'm not saying that you should take 40 years, but 40 years later, I've had an opportunity now. Me and my wife had a conversation, says, hey, won't you do what you've always wanted to do? Won't you do what you're gifted to do? Share with individuals how to become successful, share with individuals what it takes to actually be and become the best version of themselves. And so we made that leap, and here I am today, Dave.
Wow. Very cool. Again, this is why I have you on the show because I didn't know all of that about you. This is so very interesting. But there's so much in between here. So again, number one in sales, you had a blind spot, you doubted yourself, etc. But like now you're helping others. How did you evolve, realize, or develop an approach to enable people to be the best version of themselves? Because a lot happened in those 40 years. And
Oh
again, I
yeah.
recognize
Oh
you started
yes.
when you were five. So, but like, what was then that process that you went through your journey and then you realized here are the elements of what you went through and now how I help others? I want to understand the genesis of all of that.
Well, it's interesting because of the fact that now when I started, remember now, I started in sales.
Right.
I listened, I had a university on wheels, literally, because I was an insurance salesperson. I went from house to house or whatever. And while I was going from house to house, I would listen to Dennis Waitley, Brian Tracy, and Tony Robbins, and Zig Ziglar, and just kind of embed my mind with all of these great leaders and entrepreneurs and great motivational speakers. And so, and when I became number one, I started with self hypnosis with a gentleman called uh, Dick Sufton, and I used to listen to his recordings at night before I go to bed. Ultra monetary success. At night, I would wake up in the morning. I would listen to it all during the day. I would do meditation. I would do visualization. Like I said before, I was one of the youngest individuals ever to become number one in the company, breaking records along the way because of what I used. Now, fast forward 40 years from now, when I started coaching, I went and got a certification as an executive coach. I was doing that. I'm like, wow, this is doesn't feel right to me. Just asking people to kind of reflect on what they're doing. I'm like, that's not how I became successful. So I went back and got so I'm certified as a clinical hypnotherapist. I'm also certified I'm a master practitioner in neuro-linguistic programming. And I'm also a master practitioner in a sense called mental and emotional release. And part of one of the hypnotherapies I actually practice is called integral hypnotherapy, which is a combination of all of those things. So now I felt like Curtis. I'm like, wow, this is it. This is what I'm. So what I tried to do at that point, I integrated all of these technologies into the legit mindset or the LGET mindset, where now I utilize that mindset as my coaching framework and what I use now.
Oh, okay. So now I understand Curtis, kind of. But what I love the fact though that you did is obviously you seek to learn, seek to gain wisdom, and see what the gurus have to say. But in
Yes.
your journey, then you realize, well, okay, that's good. It's a good foundation. But then you found then what works for yourself. Again, coaches and consultants, some defer to a framework that's tried
Yes.
and true based on them, but
Right.
or based on their experience. But at the same time, we need to each person is unique. They are a human. They may go through similar stages, but it sounds like you said you've customized your approach. I do that when I work with clients, but it is based on deep listening, understand the human, but then provide these additional tools. Gosh, I don't know where to go, whether we start talking about, LGET for learning, growing, expanding, or transformation, or we go into the hypnotherapy because I don't understand any of this. I would really love to know more. Where would
Like,
you like to start?
well, let's start with the foundation, right? The
Okay.
foundation which I use. Let's talk about what I call legit mindset.
Love
With
it.
the legit mindset, basically is four parts to the legit mindset. The learning part is releasing any negative emotions or limiting beliefs one has. So one of the first things we do is we have to clean up the baggage in order for a person to actually see who they truly are. That's number one.
Right.
Number two of the legit mindset is growing. Now we're getting some clarity. Now we create these great visions, these aim goals and these end goals. An aim goal is basically that North Star that never moves. Like for me, for my health aim goal is to be healthy, to be vibrant, to be energized. Those don't move. My end goal is I want to weigh 195 pounds. That's an end goal. So we create these aim goals and end goals under the next section under the G on growing. Then we do as you move through it. Now you're taking some action, which inspired action. Like when something comes up for us to move and do, we should do it because our higher self is telling us that's what we need to do. And then lastly is the focus. Focus number four in the legit mindset is really transforming, understanding who we are. And what I do differently than most coaches, I do utilize what I call a bespoke daily mental supplement, which actually is like, just like a vitamin. So I created this, what I call bespoke daily mental supplement, which are short meditations that we've coded from our sessions so that now they can condition the new behavior that we've already talked about them delivering. So if they said, I want to be, I want to be, have confidence, right? So within the meditation, it might, part of it might have an affirmation, you are confident and vibrant as you move to today. And so now this is not only on a cognitive level that they're feeling this, now we are communicating with their subconscious mind, which this is the key to it, which really controls 95% of, or 95% or more of all our behavior.
Yeah.
That's what hypnotherapy comes in at. So part of this is kind of grounded with hypnotherapy. What is hypnotherapy? Number
Yeah.
one, hypnotherapy is not this woo-woo stuff that most people see, or the stage hypnotherapist that they see on stage. What hypnotherapy allows a person to communicate with their subconscious mind without the the blockage of thought. Think about it like this: if you said, I want to make more money, you're going to have this chatter that comes up. Well, what we
Yes.
do with hypnotherapy, we bypass the critical mind, and then we're speaking directly to the subconscious mind versus me trying to just do it cognitively. Now,
Okay.
all of us, this is the key, guys. Everyone has experienced hypnosis every day, every about 90 minutes or so. And this is how I'm going to prove it to you right now. Have you ever been driving
Yes.
and you're driving and your mind is gone, but you make it home safely without realizing what actually happened?
Yes.
That's trance. That's what happens. Well, your critical mind relaxed, your your thinking, your poor behavior took over, the subconscious mind took over, and you made it home safely. Or you are in a movie and you know it's a movie, you realize it's a movie, but something still startles you, or you come to tears. You have allow yourself to disband what was actually real and take on the
Become
feelings and emotions of what was actually happening on screen. So we all experience hypnosis. The thing, what I do is that we do it on purpose, with purpose, because I want you to have, when you show up, I want you to show up on purpose and with purpose. And by doing that, by utilizing that science, it allows us to actually think through life faster and easier and quicker.
because we're so as I think about this methodology, because again, there's always that filter. The mind is always thinking,
Yes,
protecting, giving you decision logic, whether to go yes, no, go in a
yes,
particular direction or not, and not giving you freedom to get rid of that chatter and connect directly with the soul or the mind or
yeah,
what have you to say what's hurting inside. Because like right now, I have a particular client. I work with them. They're okay. My heart is not in it. And
right,
I can do things on rote, but then there are certain clients that I work with that my heart is so into it. And when I see them have an aha moment or they share something with me, it connects with my soul and I actually start welling up. Some kind of connectivity or energy,
yes,
the being connects versus just the mind connecting. The mind may hear certain things, but
yes.
it's such a cool experience. I know we're going a little woo woo on our audience right now, but if you've ever taken the time to just like as he said, do you kind of go to a place where you don't even realize it and then come back and you come back or time has passed
Yeah.
and things like that. It's just kind of this other state of being to either discover, relax, reflect,
Well, and,
etc.
and then
So,
think about this too, Deb. It's the state of flow. We talk about flow
yes.
all the
Yeah,
time.
exactly.
Basically, have you ever, like you said before, have you ever been coaching a client and everything you say is just like magical? It's like it's
Yes.
just really on time. You're in this space. So what I do with my clients is help them to get into that space more often than not. That's all. I teach them
Okay.
how to do that by putting them in a certain state so that now they can access that power that's already within them. I don't do anything else. Basically, I just utilize what's already within you for you to become the best version of yourself.
Now, I want to move through the other components of NLP and your mental and emotional release here.
Right.
As your approach, I want to get through that, but eventually I want to come back to an example of somebody that you may have worked with who this is where they were. Here are some of the revelations and what was the impact on their life. So let's just tell me more, explain to the audience a little bit more about NLP.
Okay, well, NLP, when you look at NLP within itself, NLP has been around for a long time. NLP basically allows us to utilize strategies that we already have. So if you listed a person's strategy, everybody runs strategies on all of things. So what NLP does, it allows us to interrupt those patterns that no longer serve us. So if you were just easy example would be if you were biting your nails, right? Every time
Yeah.
you would bite your nails, so here you come biting your nails, it's coming up, coming up, coming up. Well, what we try to do with NLP would be, what's the trigger that's causing you to have that behavior? Then if we could interrupt the pattern, then says instead of you saying it's coming up, biting your nails, you look at your nails as wow, how beautiful they are. And then you just admire your nails versus biting your nails. So basically, what NLP does, it allows us to help clients utilize powerful strategies quicker and easier than they would if they're trying to force feed themselves to stop biting their nails. So basically, we utilize, think about neuro-linguistic programming is basically neuro is the mind, linguistics is the language in which we speak. The programming is actually what's running underneath the surface, or the app that's actually running. So we help people realize what that app or what that program is running and help
Yeah.
them interrupt that pattern and change it quickly and easily.
It so resonates with me because I value so much what you do, Curtis, and I also have worked with other coaches. Again, everybody out there, you need a coach at some point along the process to help you navigate and not feel so stressed. And I had a very negative attitude towards a situation, and we moved it eventually to, well, how can we describe that in more neutral terms?
Right.
And then ultimately, how can we describe that in a positive way? And as soon as we moved through, well, the positivity of it, I had less angst and frustration with something. And it kind of broke the cycle of having a negative Nancy attitude about something
Yeah.
to, oh, I am so grateful I have that thing in my life. So, very valuable tool.
Yes.
And then you talk about mental and emotional release. I think that's the last step here.
Yeah. Basically, in mental emotional release, I'm telling you guys, that's probably one of the most powerful technologies that I use. It really
Okay.
is. I mean, literally, with mental emotional release, it's basically, if you can look it up, it's by Dr. Matt. I can't think of his name, but we'll figure it out. But it's
Mhm.
mental emotional release. You can see the book it is on Amazon. But in mental and emotional release, what happens is we get rid of the negative energy around these limiting beliefs. And we normally start with anger, sadness, guilt, shame. And these things are released in usually 10 minutes or less, literally. People have been carrying around these negative emotions and feelings for years and years and years. And within, usually within one of my breakthrough sessions, what I normally do the first session, we get rid of that negative emotion that's tied to that event
Yeah.
that actually happened. And this is the key to it. Most of the time, when you're talking about talk therapy, which is great, but when you talk about talk therapy or most coaches, they normally they try to tackle the emotional significant event. What I mean by that is this. You'll go to them and says, "What's happening right now?" And you'll say, "Well, I'm upset with my boss. That's the problem. I'm upset with my boss." Well, then they'll go and says, "Okay, now how can you handle that situation differently with your boss?" Right? Well, I don't do that.
Okay.
Basically, what I would do in that situation is that, what was the first time? What is the root cause of that feeling that you're having towards your boss that's driving that behavior now? To give you an example of that, even for me lately, I just did this for myself a few weeks ago. I was feeling I'm getting these massive transformation with my clients. It's like, oh my God. I mean, within minutes, they're changing their lives and they're doing better and doing all these things. And I'm looking at myself, I'm like, but Curtis, what's happening with you? What's blocking you? And so I said, you know what? It might be a belief that I feel like success is hard and difficult. Success is hard and difficult. So I called one of my buddies who is also an expert in MER, and we did an MER session. Took about 10 minutes or less, And what we found was, because part of the questioning is when is the root cause, the first event that causing this feeling of feeling success is hard and difficult. Well, the root cause of it that came up to my subconscious mind, was it right, wrong, or different? I just go with it, right?
Right.
It said I was age 2 when I took on this belief of life is hard and difficult. We went through, we released the emotions around it. I got a new learning that I'm persistent, I'm strong, and I'm resilient. Well, I
Mm.
was curious. I was curious. So I called my mom. I says, Mom, what was happening in my life at age 2? That I didn't give her any details or nothing. I just asked that one. She says, "Oh, baby, what happened was, well, around 18 months, your sister was about being born, and I didn't want two babies in diapers at the same time. And this is what she said. Listen to the verbiage. And it was hard and difficult for you to be potty trained. So, going back to the original story we started with, you remember I was number one in the world
Yes.
within 1.5 years. Guess what the thought was running in my head at that time? Success is hard. Success is difficult. So that feeling, you remember I told you I was number one quickly, but I had a limiting belief that stopped me from actually continuing to do that. That thought of success is hard and difficult was still running. Fast forward when I was in the top 10 to 15% in sales in financial services. The same thing. My wife, I was doing over $1 million in revenues with this company. I mean, like crazy. And my wife came to me and says, honey, wow, what you're doing is so easy. I mean, you just like you have it dialed in. And I looked at her and I'm like, you don't understand. This is hard and this is difficult. This is not easy. Same thing. So what I'm sharing with individuals that what we do is differently, we figure out what is the root cause of that feeling. If we can get rid of the root cause, it's like a domino effect. Then we bring the learning of that all the way through your life so that now when it comes up again, you have a resource that you can actually go with for that learning. So that's what mental emotional release is. It's a powerful technique that I use, and I'm telling you, we've got amazing results. I mean, even like you were saying, what something? Give me one. Well, one was, when people come to my podcast, I says, hey, you can come and I'll give you a free values, a values alignment session, discovering the values alignment session. And I do that for all of my podcast guests. And it takes about 45 minutes. Sometimes I have a little time left. And when we discover when I do a person's values, it tells me what some baggage is really quickly. And part of that is money. Usually is a baggage for most people. That's what it is. And so we were doing the session, and I said, well, we got about 10 minutes left. You mind if we want to do mental and emotional release on that feeling about money? And we did it. As soon as we finished, they're like, oh my God, Curtis, this wow. And then they called me back the next day. Curtis, you won't believe it. Since I released this feeling and this emotion around money, I've been trying to get on the Chamber of Commerce, this Chamber of Commerce to speak on their platform for years. Guess what? They called me and want me to be the guest speaker for them. That kind of stuff. I mean, so and that's kind of what kind of triggered me. Like, what the, what's going on? And so another one is she's like, wow, Curtis, when we release money, she's like, wow, guess what? Since we did that release work, I just gotten my first paying client for this year. Oh, and by the way, I'm also going to appear on a television show because of now what's happening is that when we release negative emotions, the energy is now clear and it allows us to attract what's really there for us to attract. That's kind of what it does.
Yeah, and that is something I would love to dig deeper into at some point because it's a little woo woo, but on the other hand, it's like, well, you got to empty your calendar up. So if an appointment does come up, it shows up. What is the connection of releasing a mindset about money and then all of a sudden an opportunity comes your way? Maybe you're more intentional. Maybe you show up a little bit different when you have
Oh, we
encounters with
do.
people.
Well, basically, think about it. It's
Yeah.
how you show up.
Yeah.
Basically, it's not that the what I truly believe, right? I truly believe that we have this energy that's out there that we can attract or not.
Yeah.
And once we release the negative emotions and energy, now things can actually gravitate to us more. And is the bottom line is, the law of conservation. Energy is not created or can be destroyed. Is only transformed to one source to the next. So basically, the only thing we're doing is moving energy. I know, and you keep saying woo woo. I don't want people to think that it is woo woo. I
You're
really
right.
don't.
Need to
I
change our language. What
well,
is
basically
it?
because it's not. Basically, what it is it's the for the first time you can show up on purpose with purpose without because somebody's controlling your mind. Somebody wants you control your own mind versus you sit around and we watch these commercials, right? When we
Mm,
watch, me and my wife watch television, and we literally have the remote control in our hand. So when the pharmaceutical commercials come on, we just
oh my
mute it.
God. There's
I
so
mean, that's how
many.
much right. And this is what they've done. They have normalized sickness. They normalized it. And we just sit there and we're programmed that it's okay to be sick. It's not okay to be sick. Basically, we don't have to be sick all the time. Yeah, you take medication when you need to take medication, but guess what? Think about how they program it. And that's hypnosis. Basically, you see these people dancing around with the music and music that we are very familiar with, and we're just like automatically just kind of grooving with it, and all of a sudden, wham, here's this medication, and then they tell us all these things what it's going to do or not do, you
Hmm.
know, and we're just sitting there like dun, 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 dun. And our subconscious mind is now. You remember I told you hypnosis is the critical mind is relaxed, and then selective thinking is now maintained, and they're just dropping these new beliefs down into our subconscious. So it's not. It's so for me, it's not so much of woo woo is the fact that now you know what's going on and now you have the power to change it.
Oh my God, Curtis. I am so so grateful we've had this conversation because again, first of all, just for my listeners, Curtis has an amazing voice if you haven't already figured that out already. So I already knew I wanted to have a conversation with him and hopefully his voice, my voice is very calming and getting into your mind to realize if you are struggling, if you think you're having limiting beliefs, if somebody have told you had blind spots, don't do it alone. Yes,
Yeah.
you can read up. Yes, educate yourself. Go to the gurus, see all the great ones who've helped with mindset, leadership, all of that. But at some point along the way, I encourage people to think about okay, I have the awareness that I want to change. I need to change. I better
Yes.
change. And who can be my guide to help me through that change? It could be Curtis. It could be myself on other fronts as well. But don't do this work as alone because you only have so much time on this world to realize joy and have an impact. So, Curtis, this has been an amazing conversation, but I want to pass it back to you for any last thoughts or comments that you want to share with our audience.
When you just said that, that really resonated with me. What you said, you don't have to do this alone,
Yeah.
because of the fact that even as a coach, I have a coach because I know that this journey is all about learning. It's all about growing. It's all about expanding and transforming. And guess what, guys? That process never stops. And that's kind of what. That's how I became. That's how I actually created the legit mindset, knowing I was asking, what is this all about? And I understood now that everything that we do, good, bad, or indifferent, is all about learning something. It's all about growing from that, all about expanding and transforming. Guess what? Once we go through that process, it starts all over again. It's a never ending process, but
Mm.
we can have this beautiful journey here on earth that I feel that I can help and support individuals in doing.
All right. Well, Curtis McCullum, I want people to reach out to him, find him on LinkedIn. We'll have all of his contact information in the show notes. And for those of you who want to also watch this, we've had an amazing time. We're also on the YouTube channel. Catch the full conversation, get a chance to see Curtis and I in interacting. But I really love your work. It is so important for my audience to realize this. And I just want to say thank you for dropping in and being an absolutely amazing guest. And I want to wish you continued success.
I appreciate it, Deb. It's always my pleasure. Anytime.